When I lost my job, my in-laws gave my kids a box of groceries, then looked at me and said, "We fed them out of pity, not for you. Don't get used to it." My father-in-law added, "Maybe if you had a spine, you'd still be employed." I took the food, said nothing. But that night, I started something that will leave them empty for months. Now they're showing up at my door, trembling. When I lost my job, I didn't tell anyone for 3 days. Not my wife. Not my kids. I left the house at the same time every morning, drove to a nearby parking lot, and sat there in silence, staring at my phone like I was waiting for it to ring. Like someone from HR would call back and say it was all a mistake, that my name hadn't been on the termination list after all. But no one called. No one ever does. By the end of the 3rd day, I couldn't hide it anymore. My wife asked why I hadn't brought home any groceries. I told her the truth. I saw the way her shoulders dropped, the way she looked away for a second too long before asking, "What are we going to do?" I didn't have an answer. Not then. We had some savings, barely enough to cover the rent and utilities for a couple months. But that was it. I told her we'd be okay, that I'd find something, that I just needed a little time. The next day, my in-laws came over. They didn't call ahead, just showed up. My wife didn't seem surprised, so I knew she had told them. I wanted to be angry about that, but I didn't have the energy. They brought a box, cardboard, half torn on one side. They placed it on the porch like it was a gift. My kids ran to it, laughing, pulling out cereal boxes, instant noodles, apples, juice boxes, a few cans of soup. Things we hadn't bought in weeks. They looked happy. I couldn't stop them. I didn't want to. I stepped outside, nodded a silent thank you, even though everything in me screamed not to. That's when my father-in-law looked me straight in the eye and said it. "We fed them out of pity," he said coldly. "Not for you. Don't get used to it." My chest tightened. I felt my jaw clench, but I didn't speak. My wife stood behind him, eyes downcast, silent. Then he added, with that smug little smirk he always wore when he felt in control, "Maybe if you had a spine, you'd still be employed." I stared at him. My mouth was dry. I didn't move. Not a twitch. My mother-in-law crossed her arms. "It's not our job to take care of your family," she said, loud enough for the kids to hear. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the box back in their faces. But I didn't, because I saw the look on my daughter's face. She was clutching a pack of granola bars like it was gold. So I swallowed it. I took the shame and kept it inside. I picked up the box, nodded again, and walked back inside without saying a word. I didn't eat that night. I sat in the living room after everyone went to bed. The lights were off. The house was quiet. And I sat there for hours, staring at the floor, feeling like a ghost in my own home. But I wasn't broken. No, not yet. That night, something shifted. Something I can't fully explain. It was like a light went out inside me, and something colder took its place. Not hate, not rage. Just a quiet, steady decision. I didn't want to prove them wrong. I wanted them to feel it. To feel what it was like to be humiliated, to be looked down on, to be talked to like a burden. I opened my laptop, found an old document, one I hadn't touched in years. It was just an idea back then, something I had started when I still believed in taking the high road. But not anymore. I began typing, slowly at first, then faster. The anger helped. So did the silence. The plan wasn't about money. It wasn't about violence. It was about taking something from them they didn't even realize mattered until it was gone. They thought they were better than me. They thought I was weak. But I was just quiet. And that quiet man they mocked? He's the one who's going to hollow them out from the inside. I didn't sleep that night. When morning came, I felt like a different person. My body moved, but something inside me had gone still. Like my emotions had been locked in a room I didn't have the key for anymore. The kids got ready for school. My wife avoided my eyes. I knew she was ashamed, too ashamed that her parents had done what I couldn't. She didn't say it out loud, but I could feel it in the space between us. Cold, quiet, heavy. I kissed the kids goodbye, told them I'd pick them up later. They smiled like everything was normal. That smile broke something in me. After they left, I opened that old file again. I started organizing everything. Names, accounts, habits, weaknesses. You see, my father-in-law had this habit of bragging, especially at family dinners. He'd talk about his side business, the one he kept off the books. Cash-only jobs, under-the-table deals. Just smart money, he used to say, smiling wide while sipping his third glass of red wine. He thought no one was listening, but I was. And I remembered every detail. It started with small steps. I sent a few anonymous emails. One to the city tax office, another to the local business bureau. I didn't sign anything. I didn't need to. I just left clues. Enough for someone with authority to start sniffing. Next, I started talking to some of his old clients. The ones he bragged about screwing over with hidden fees and faulty work. I posed as someone looking to hire him. Let them rant. Took notes. A few were more than willing to file complaints, especially once I showed them exactly where to do it. But I didn't stop there. My mother-in-law ran a church group. She liked to present herself as this selfless, holy woman, always smiling in the front row, always talking about charity, about helping the less fortunate. So I started showing up, just once or twice. Quietly. I watched. I listened. I heard how she talked about us, about me. She didn't know I was sitting 2 rows behind, listening as she told her friends, they're struggling now. It's sad, but maybe it's God's way of teaching him responsibility. I walked out, went straight to my car. Sat there shaking. She used God to justify kicking me while I was down. That night, I created a fake email. I made it look like it came from a member of her own church. I wrote, "You might want to take a look at this. It's going around." I attached screenshots, pulled from public comment threads, old Facebook posts where she bad-mouthed people who had once helped her. Gossip. Cruel words. Hypocrisy in plain sight. All tied to her name. I sent it to 3 of the church leaders. The next Sunday, she didn't go. My wife got a call from her, furious, crying. "Someone's trying to ruin me," she said. I just sat at the kitchen table, eating toast. They still didn't suspect it was me. Then something unexpected happened. My brother-in-law showed up at my door. I hadn't seen him in months. He always stayed out of family drama, floating on the edges like it didn't concern him. But now he was standing on my porch, shifting nervously, holding a bottle of whiskey like a peace offering. "Can we talk?" he asked. We sat outside. He didn't say much at first. Then he sighed and said, "They were out of line. What they said to you." I didn't agree with it. I just didn't want to get in the middle. I didn't respond. I think they're scared now," he added. "Something's going on. My dad's freaking out. He got a call from a tax agent. And Mom's talking about being watched by the church board." I raised my eyebrows but stayed silent. He leaned closer, lowered his voice. "Look, I don't know if you had anything to do with it, but if you did, I just want you to know, I wouldn't blame you." That caught me off guard. He looked genuinely uncomfortable, but not angry. Just tired. "Just be careful," he said before leaving. They're not used to being on the other side of things. That night, I sat with my laptop again, staring at the screen, thinking. The game was moving now. The pieces were shifting, and they still had no idea who was holding the board. A week passed. I thought things would slow down, but instead, they got worse for them. One morning, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something told me to answer. "Hello." The voice was quiet, shaken. "This is Pastor Raymond from St. Thomas Church. I'm sorry to bother you, but your mother-in-law gave us your number. She said you might be able to explain something." I paused. "Explain what?" He hesitated. "She's been asked to step down from leading the women's group. There have been concerns. Some comments she made, things she posted. She claims someone hacked her account, but we're not sure." I said nothing. My silence hung there, long enough that he filled it himself. "She said you have experience with computers, that maybe you could clear her name." So that was the story she was telling. I thanked him, told him I'd look into it. But I didn't. She was looking for someone to clean up her mess. She was looking at the same man she called spineless just a week before. Later that day, I found my wife crying in the bedroom. The door was closed, but I heard her from the hallway. Not loud, just soft, steady tears. I walked in and stood there. She didn't look up. "My mom said someone's destroying them. She thinks it's karma," she whispered. "But I don't know anymore. I'm starting to wonder if it's something else." Her voice cracked. "I know what they said to you. It was wrong, but you're scaring me." I sat beside her. I didn't deny anything, but I didn't confirm it either. "I'm just taking care of what's mine," I said simply. She didn't argue, but she didn't touch me either. That night, the real twist came. My email pinged. It was from a name I hadn't seen in years, Edward Lott. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. Edward was my father-in-law's former business partner. They'd worked together for almost a decade, until Edward vanished suddenly. I remember hearing whispers about a bad deal, something involving forged contracts and stolen clients. My father-in-law had always told everyone he was the one who'd been betrayed. But the email said otherwise. Found out you've been poking around. Figured I'd give you a call before you find out the rest on your own. Your father-in-law didn't just screw over strangers. He screwed me too. And I've got proof. There was a phone number at the bottom. I called it the next morning. Edward sounded tired. Like someone who'd spent years being angry but had run out of fuel. He ruined me, he said. Took our joint funds, filed fake invoices, made it look like I was the one stealing. I couldn't fight it in court. I didn't have the money. He made sure of that. I asked him if he had anything to prove it. Boxes, he said. Emails. Bank statements. Copies of the original contracts. His handwriting all over them. I didn't ask how he got them. I just asked if he'd share them. He said he would. Not for money. Just for the satisfaction of watching the truth come out. I never had anyone to help me fight back, he said. But maybe now I do. Later that week, a package arrived at my door. No return address. Just my name, written in thick black marker. Inside were files. Dozens of them. Everything my father-in-law had tried to bury. I could destroy him with it. But something held me back. Because that's when the second twist hit me. Hard. Tucked inside one of the folders was a document I didn't expect. A bank transfer receipt. 10 years old. Large amount. From my father-in-law to my wife. I stared at it for a long time. The dates lined up. It was just a few weeks before we got married. And I realized, with a sick feeling in my gut, that she knew. She'd known about the fraud. Maybe not the details, but enough to take his money and stay silent. And she never told me. I sat there in the kitchen, hands shaking, as she walked in. "What's wrong?" she asked. I looked up at her. My voice came out flat. Where did that money come from? Her face went pale. She didn't answer. She didn't answer. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. I held the paper up. "This was before we were married," I said. My voice didn't even sound like mine. "Why did your father give you this?" She sat down, slowly, like her legs had stopped working. Her hands were shaking. "I didn't know it was stolen," she whispered. "He said it was a wedding gift. For us. For the down payment." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "You never asked where it came from?" She looked away. I didn't want to know. That was the truth. I could see it on her face. She had chosen not to ask. She had chosen comfort over honesty. "I built our home on that money," I said. "I worked like a dog. I gave everything I had to this family. And all this time, I was trying to live up to a lie." She cried. Not loud. Not the kind that asked for comfort. Just slow tears that wouldn't stop. I didn't speak to her for the rest of that day. That night, I sat with the files again. Spread them out on the table. I had everything I needed. I had the emails, the records, the names of the clients he scammed, and now proof of his hidden money transfers. But this wasn't just about getting even anymore. This was about truth. So I started sending. I sent everything to the state tax office. Not just anonymous tips now, but full documents. I signed my name. Then I sent the files to the business fraud unit. Then the police. Then every single one of his former clients who'd been screwed over. And finally, I sent copies to the church. Not just about the stolen money, but about how my mother-in-law used that money to buy influence, donations made in others' names, charity funds managed by her. It took 3 weeks. Then everything exploded. The IRS came first. Then local news. My father-in-law was arrested for tax evasion, fraud, and falsifying business documents. His house was searched. His office raided. I saw the footage online. Him in handcuffs, head down, no words for the reporters. My mother-in-law? She was removed from the church board. Publicly. They issued a statement. She was never welcome back. Their friends stopped calling. Their donations dried up. Their world got smaller. Then the clients sued. Class action. Brutal. Every dollar he had left was claimed by someone. He lost everything. And my wife? She moved out 2 weeks after the arrest. Said she needed space. I let her go. I didn't beg. I didn't fight. I just said, "You already chose your side." Years ago. She left the next morning. I didn't hear from her again. The house was quiet after that. Too quiet. For a while, I thought I'd feel free. Strong. Vindicated. But I just felt tired. Because the truth is, I let it all happen too. I let them talk down to me for years. I kept my head down. I thought being silent made me strong. But sometimes silence just lets rot grow deeper. So yes, they paid. They got what they deserved. But I did too. I lost my family, my peace, the version of life I thought I was building. I walked through the ruins alone. But I wasn't broken. I started over. Found work again. Not in an office, but something hands-on. Something real. Carpentry. Simple jobs. Fixing things with my hands. It felt good. Honest. The kids still visited. I never spoke badly about their mother in front of them. They'd figure out the truth on their own, in time. One day, a letter came. From my father-in-law. Handwritten. From prison. "You destroyed me," he wrote. "I hope it was worth it." I folded the letter. Put it in a drawer. I didn't need to reply. Because I didn't destroy him. He did that himself. All I did was stop hiding from the truth. And that, finally, felt like peace.